Namaskar, welcome to Indoz Television. I'm Reena Agustine and you're watching Life's Legal Journey with Cornerstone Law Offices. I have Pravanita Singh Pillai. Thank you, Pravanita, for your time.
Thanks, Reena. It's good to be back. Welcome to our viewers. And hopefully you're all learning something and getting something out of this series.
We definitely are. I am, so definitely our viewers will be. We talked about Gary and Maya's life story in the last episode. I would like to now continue what happens when Gary and Maya have young kids.
Right.
Is there any papers that has to be in place? What happens?
Well, not really. So now we've got Gary and Maya married. I think we've spoken about them buying a car and perhaps moving into rental accommodation together or buying a house. Now we've got babies for them and they've got 2 children. So they don't have to have any paperwork in place in terms of having the children. But before they've even had the children, what they start to think about is their own will, okay? If they've already got their children, more so reason for them to have their estate planning documents in place. So a will is one document that anyone over the age of 18 should have in place, because that talks about what happens to your estate, your wealth, and your debt when you pass away.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's a lot of questions that I have to ask because I have seen it firsthand and with examples of my friends. But the kids are born, the will is in place, let's put it together. Whatever happens to the parents, even if they are not in the mental status of making a decision in their 80s or 70s, will that will count?
Yes.
That is made before the kids are 18?
Absolutely, yes. So parents, so your will is your will, right? So everyone over the age of 18 can make a will. That's valid until you die, basically. The document comes into effect when you die. You can change your will as many times as you like during your lifetime, so long as you have legal mental capacity. In other words, you don't have dementia, you're not, had a stroke and your mental state is not there. So when we get asked to come and make wills for people who are elderly or who suffer from some mental condition or mental health condition or are in hospital or in an aged care facility, first thing we ask for is a letter from their doctor to say that they have got the capacity. Because, for example, someone may have had a stroke, they can't speak properly or they're slurring, but their brain is probably fine now. They're just paralyzed physically, as an example.
Yeah.
So if the doctor says they can talk to us and give us clear instructions and they have the mental capacity, they understand what they're doing in a legal document, we'll go and make that. So, yes, to answer the question, even if the children are younger, the estate is still valid because that's the over 18 person's will. It's mum and dad's will.
Got it. The other most important question is when a child turns 18. So the 2 kids of Maya and Gary are now 18.
Right.
Right? Now they have their own life
Yes.
to sort out. But for some reason, one of the kid hasn't got a job.
Yes.
And goes into the wrong direction. But now
Wants their money?
That's correct.
Okay. So let's say, Gary made the will to say, I give everything to Maya, my wife first, and if Maya dies before me, then to our children. And now, as you said, the children have grown up and they're 18. Now, if Gary's will said that my children are to get the inheritance at 18, then the children have the right to have their inheritance at that age.
Before the parents die?
No, not before the parents die. No, they're not getting anything before the parents die, unless the parents are going to give it to them during their lifetime, okay?
Right, yeah.
No, but this is under the will.
Yes.
Some parents, and these days we're seeing most parents, are putting a higher age on that date, on the inheritance recipient age sort of thing. Instead of 18, most of them are saying 21 or 25. Most popular at the moment is 25 because what they feel is by then they will either have finished an education or if they did go wayward, hopefully they're back and sensible by their 25, okay? Now, when I first started my legal career, I was about 23. And when I was working out in country Queensland at the time, we have all these farmers to deal with and they're making their wills and they were leaving everything to their children at age 35. And, when you are 23, 35 seems very old. So I used to say to my clients, that's being very mean. Why are you letting them wait till they're 35? And they would say to me, because at 21 or even at 25, they will blow the family's property away. They won't have the common sense to be dealing with it as family estate. So it made sense, now I'm wiser and I can understand where they were coming from. So if they're under 18, they won't get the inheritance. It'll be held in trust. If mum and dad pass away, it'll be held in trust until they're of legal age.
Okay.
Yeah. But they can't get the inheritance while their parents are still alive unless the parents are just giving them the money.
Got it, yeah. Now, the other most important question is, usually the modern generation have either one kid or two kids or three kids. And if the kids are more, is there anywhere in the will it clearly says that everybody will be divided equally? Or can the parents choose that my firstborn will be having this much and the second will be having that much?
Very good question. So when we sit down with our clients, we call it estate planning. It's not just will writing. And I physically set up the family tree. And I talk about that exactly. And in this day and age, we're not talking just about a nuclear family. A lot of families are blended families.
That's right.
We have children from one side, the other side, and then ours together.
Yeah.
So all that kind of dynamic has to be looked into. So it's up to the parents. They can say, okay, I gave the firstborn, $50,000 towards their first house purchase. I did that to the second child. I wasn't able to for the third child. So the third child is going to get a little bit more out of the inheritance. Or the $50,000 I gave to child number one as a loan will not be a loan. It'll be considered part of his inheritance already. All these conversations.
Wow.
So they can decide. They could say, I'm completely cutting Rena off the will because of A, B, C, D reasons. I'm completely cutting Prav off the will because she doesn't need the money or she doesn't, but the other children do. So they can explain all of that. Now, we give clients the option to either explain it within the will, so that it's there in black and white, or in what we call a statutory declaration, which sits with the will, where they've explained the reason as to why they have cut off, young Johnny out of the will. I did have a client who did that. He kept changing his will because his son was threatening his new wife, so his stepmom. He would threaten his stepmom, stop talking to his dad. So his dad kept changing the will and cutting him out, bringing him back in, cutting him out, putting him back in.
Yes.
And at one point I said, stop wasting money on me doing this. Why don't you just leave his inheritance to your grandchildren, his children? Because it's unlikely that the father would challenge his own children, right?
That's amazing idea.
So it's thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
It's talking to your lawyer and discussing these things and what options are there.
And get all the ideas.
Exactly. Get some advice.
Yes. Now, when you said that, the new wife, right? And the kid doesn't like the new wife. So I have seen an incidence where the husband dies, but the new wife is there, and the children of the husband from previous marriage are now challenging the money from the new wife.
Yes.
The new wife is going through a lot of stress.
Yes.
Right? Is there any place that clearly says that the new wife is going to give, without any documents?
Right. So if the person who died has a will, then that's the best thing, because then all of those contingencies have been thought of. And that person, like I said, when we're making that will, say for instance, we're making the will for Gary, and Maya had died and there was a new wife, and now these children are Maya's children, and you're saying they're fighting the new wife, right? So it's important, if there is a will, to make sure that the children don't miss out. I did have a situation, friends of ours who are, our friend is on his second marriage, but he had a son from a previous marriage. My concern there was, you can't leave everything to your new wife to then say, she will pass it on to all our children. Because what if she doesn't pass to your child from your first relationship?
Yeah.
Then he will potentially have a claim. So in order to do that, you leave him something separately and then leave everything else to your wife, new wife, right? So yes, they will challenge it. In order for anyone to challenge an estate, they need to prove that it's called a family provisions claim basically, and they have to prove that they were financially dependent on you, on the person who died, and that there was inadequate provision in the will for them. Okay, so they'll have to fight that battle with their stepmom in your scenario to say why they should have received some inheritance. Now, scenario would be this, for instance. If dad and stepmom had been together for the last 20, 30 years, then less chance of you having a claim, because whatever dad's now accumulated would have been with his new wife.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Rather than when new mummy or stepmom has been in the life for the last 2 or 3 years.
Got it. Yes. So that all has to be weighed in.
Yeah, it has to be weighed in.
Yes.
Yeah.
But still the kids can get anything even if the new wife is 30 years relationship together?
Well, again, it'll depend. It'll depend on a lot of factors. Now, you did talk about whether there was a will or not a will.
Yes.
Now, if someone dies without a will, then there's a certain set of laws that apply.
Okay.
So your legal spouse, surviving spouse, gets the first $150,000 of your estate, and then the rest gets divided between the children and your spouse. Okay, so there's rules that apply. So if you don't have a will, those standards will apply. So it's better to have a will, because your will express your wishes.
Got it.
Rather than what the law says is going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you said that there might be some pressure while making a will, what kind of pressure you think? If you can give us an example.
Absolutely. I'll use a specific example. So I had a scenario of a couple come to see me to make their will. They were both on their second marriages, right? So this is their new relationship. She had a son from a previous relationship. I don't think he had any other children. Then they had their children together, okay? When they came for the interview, I met with them together as a couple. So I'm always conscious of that. When I'm meeting with them as a couple, I also make a mental note if I see any power imbalance, or if one being not even giving me instructions and one person's doing the talking, to then talk to them individually at another time. And that's what happened here. He gave me all the instructions for his will, and then he told me what should go in her will. Okay? So I made a mental note to call her the next day to say, okay, now you tell me what you want. But before I called her, she called me and she said, Prav, here's what I want. Wow. And I said, I'm glad you called, because you're on my list of things to do today is to call you. So that kind of pressure, okay? Because I had to make sure her son from her previous relationship was covered, which is not something he was looking at.
Got it.
Okay? And obviously he had some other intention there. So yes, we have to be conscious of those things and have that conversation. Same thing goes with elderly parents. Mm-hmm. You'll have people call the office and make an appointment. Oh, mom needs to change her will. Dad needs to change his will. They'll come with them. I make them sit in the waiting area, and I will talk to their parents alone to make sure that they understand what they're doing. To ask I'm not asking direct questions, but I'm having a general conversation to ascertain for myself, is there any pressure?
Wow.
And if there's anything of that sort, then I've got to watch my back and be careful how I'm drafting things and doing my homework, my due diligence.
That's right.
And that's why I always start with the family tree. I literally get the pen and paper out and I draw. Here's mom and dad. I had a case where these parents were showies, which how we have the equine and shows. So they go around having their stalls in all the shows. And my goodness, I needed a bigger paper to draw that family, because and we had to make sure everyone was covered, because there were lots of intermarriages, different marriages, different children. So that was an interesting exercise to do. But if you don't, then you don't know who's who in the zoo.
That's right. That's correct. Now, while you were saying about, the will, the husband wanted this will and the wife wanted this will. So when the couple is making a will, they can make a separate will?
They have to make a separate will. Good question, Rina.
Didn't know that.
Very good question. So a lot of people say, well, can't we make one document? Well, where's the guarantee that you will die together? That's why you need two separate documents.
Correct.
What you can make is what we call mutual wills. Mm-hmm. So that's what most couples will make, is mutual wills, which means husband says, I leave everything to wife and then to my children. Wife says, I leave everything to husband and then to my children. and to our grandchildren, right?
Yeah.
That's mutual wills, but you've got to have individual documents because you're not going to die together. Well, you may, but you may. Because remember, the will only comes into effect when you die.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. So in short, the couple comes together, Maya and Gary come together. They actually make a will in front of you. Their documents are separate.
Yes.
Apart from that separate document, they can have a mutual will.
No, that is their mutual will. So the will they're making, the two separate documents, it's known as a mutual will because it's saying you're giving similar things. It's a mirror image. The other documents I should mention that they should think about making are your enduring power of attorney, and I think we mentioned it in another episode, but that's important to make, and also an advanced health directive.
Yeah.
So if you have strong feelings about whether you want to be resuscitated, whether you want to be on a life support machine or not, or whether you want blood transfusions or not, you make what's called an advanced health directive so that the doctor can do what you want them to do.
Yeah.
Not what they're obligated by law to do, which is to keep you alive.
So make your health directive document when you are sound mind
Exactly.
and good health.
Because you can't otherwise.
Otherwise you can't.
Yes.
So let's go back to the will.
Yes.
Sorry, power of attorney.
Power of attorney, yeah.
Now, there was a case that I came across where the son actually got the signature of the father and took all the property. Now, how can we save that?
Well, basically, that's committing fraud. Is that what you're alleging?
Yes.
So if someone's committing fraud, you really need to be complaining to the police for investigation.
Okay.
So basically, someone has to dob for them to then have an effect. And if they have breached their obligation, because a power of attorney is a trustee, that's a serious obligation they're taking over. And it's a criminal offense, basically.
Yes.
If you're not doing things in the best interest of the person you're supposed to be trustee of, then you can be in deep, deep, deep trouble.
So if a family member doesn't go to the police, right? But if somebody who is in the funeral or in the hospital to come and see the old gentleman, and if they watch what the son is doing, can they dob him?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they should be under an obligation to. They should be, because otherwise they're almost an accessory to a crime then, aren't they? If they can see that there's something wrong happening. It's like saying, if I'm committing murder and you're there watching me, well, then aren't you part of that offense?
Yeah,
So similar, it's a criminal offense and they become a party to it then. Yeah,
So
absolutely they should be reporting it. Yes.
All right. So there are things into place to look after that. Yeah.
I had a scenario, not that extreme, but I had a scenario where a lady in her 90s had appointed her grandson as an enduring power of attorney. Now, she had one child, that grandson's mom, right? So there was a falling out between the old lady and the daughter. That's why she didn't appoint her daughter. Appointed the grandson, but when grandma went into the nursing home, grandson is supposed to be the enduring power of attorney, should have rented her house out, should be looking after the house because that's her asset. That's his obligation to do that. Mom came to see me to see how she can get rid of her son as the enduring power of attorney for her mother's estate because he's not looking after the property. The grass was yay high, the house hadn't been rented out, it's wastage.
Yeah.
So she's dobbing her own son.
Got it.
Right? To say he's not doing the right thing as a trustee. Can we get a court order and get him kicked out as a trustee so I can get appointed in? And we can do that.
Oh, we can do
Absolutely.
that. Oh, wow.
Absolutely.
Even if the mother of the daughter didn't want her.
Correct. Because now this old lady, what we're trying to prove to the court is her best interest is not being looked after by this grandson, who is the trustee. He's not acting in her best interest.
So who's the next person we can
Exactly. Whether the court can accept the daughter to be or some third party, like the adult guardian, so a public trustee or somebody else could be appointed. But in that scenario, there'd be really no reason why the daughter could not be appointed.
Got it. So tell me about third party. So you said public trustee.
Public trustee,
Who are
yes.
they?
So if nobody is available, then the court can appoint the public trustee. So he's just a general, she, I can't remember who it is in Queensland at the moment, but public trustee will get appointed as a trustee. So it's just, if no family member puts their hand up or a friend and things like that, then they can be appointed. Or the other person is the adult guardian, which is, someone sitting in an office in the city somewhere making decisions for you that doesn't know anything about you really. Is just doing their job.
Yeah.
So it's always better to appoint someone that you know.
No, yeah.
And that's why it's important that you make those documents while you still have the mental capacity.
So don't wait till you get old.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the most important thing. As we spoke, that people say that, oh, I'm not old yet to make a will.
Yes.
But then explaining about the super.
Yes. Yeah. So super goes into your will, and whether you should make a binding nomination for your super fund as to who's going to get that money.
Yes.
You can only appoint a spouse or children. Okay.
Oh, really?
Can't appoint anybody else. So then it goes into your estate. But there are tax consequences and all of that, so you need to talk to financial planners about that, whether it should go to your estate or should get straight paid out to your beneficiary.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
lots of things
that's
to think about.
a lot of knowledge to take in
Yes.
and a lot of information.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, life's legal journey with Cornerstone Law Offices. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
ਹੈਲੋ ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਨਮਸਕਾਰ ਇੰਡੋਜ਼ ਟੀਵੀ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਦਰਸ਼ਕਾਂ ਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਹਰਜਿੰਦ ਕੌਰ ਮੰਗਟ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਕਰਦੀ ਹਾਂ ਦਰਸ਼ਕੋ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ YouTube ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਪਿਆਰ ਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਪਰ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਦੇਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਰੀਅਲ ਟੀਵੀ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਜ਼ਿੰਗਾ ਟੀਵੀ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਸੁਪਰ ਟੀਵੀ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਜੀਓ ਟੀਵੀ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਜੁਗਨੀ ਟੀਵੀ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ IPTV ਗਲੈਕਸੀ ਸ਼ਾਵਾ ਗੋਲਡ ਅਤੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਐਪ ਨੂੰ ਡਾਊਨਲੋਡ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਆਈਫੋਨ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਤੇ ਐਂਡਰੋਇਡ ਫੋਨ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਫ੍ਰੀ ਆਫ ਕਾਸਟ ਤੇ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਰਹੋ 24/7 ਐਂਟਰਟੇਨਮੈਂਟ ਜੇਕਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਨੂੰ ਸਪਾਂਸਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤੇ ਐਡਵਰਟਾਈਜ਼ਮੈਂਟ ਦੇਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਨੰਬਰ ਨੋਟ ਕਰ ਲਵੋ 35589436 ਸੋ ਦੋਸਤੋ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਰਹੋ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਆਸਟ੍ਰੇਲੀਅਨ ਟੀਵੀ ਇੰਡੋਜ਼ ਟੀਵੀ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ
Hello and welcome to Indoz Television. I'm Reena Augustine and you're watching Life's Legal Journey with Cornerstone Law Offices. I have Pravanita Singh here who is actually sharing the story of Gary and Maya. And we spotted on wills,
Yes.
power of attorney. I really want to talk about insurance. The best example I can give you is there were some insurance company who contacted me and said that, have you got a life insurance? And I'm like, oh, are you trying to sell me something? But then later I thought, no, I don't have a life insurance. So what are the insurances a person should have, Prav?
So we're talking about Gary and Maya as a young couple. So your life insurance is one of the things to consider. Now, yes, you are right in asking them, what are you trying to sell me? Because that's effectively what it is. So life insurance is on your life. So you'll never benefit from that insurance policy, somebody else will, whoever that beneficiary is, right? The purpose of getting a life insurance out is, as a couple, would be, for instance, when I die and my life insurance pays out the money, the claim that my husband makes, at least that money will be used to pay off debts. Debts that I'm sharing with him right now. For example, mortgage. If we have investment properties, the loans to go with that. Any other debts that are our joint debts. Because we're both working, right? We can both afford those at the moment. When one of us dies, all of a sudden, all of that debt becomes one person's responsibility. So at least the life insurance payment can help pay all of those debts. Perhaps all of it, if not half of it.
Wow.
At least one person's half,
Yeah.
right? And I've got a friend whose husband died ages ago, just in his early 50s. Basically, one morning at breakfast table, he just passed away, okay? And his life insurance paid out the mortgage incomplete. So it was one less burden for her. She could focus on her children and herself and not have to worry about where the money's going to come from to pay the mortgage because the house got paid out.
Wow.
So that's one
Yes.
life insurance.
That's one of the most important
Yes.
one.
Yeah.
I never thought of that. Having a life insurance, you can actually lessen the burden of your partner.
Exactly.
Your children, maybe.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
the main purpose of that life insurance policy. The other ones to consider are your total and permanent disability, your income protection insurance. So these things are beneficial for you during your lifetime. Income protection is, for instance, if you get injured today and you can't come to work anymore for a period of time, short period of time, then if your injury did not occur at work, then you've got your own personal insurance that covers your income. So you're still getting a percentage of your income, if not all of it,
Yeah.
while you're recovering. Again, it's protecting you, so money's coming in and the stress is not there for you as to how am I going to feed myself. Right?
Correct, yes.
Now, if your injury happens during work or work related, then you'll get workers' compensation.
Yeah.
Okay, that's different. So that's your employer is paying that insurance. The other thing is the permanent and total incapacity insurance, which again, that's if you can never return to work, either due to illness like cancer, or something more severe like that, or physical disability in terms of a car accident or something, and you can never return to work. So then that money is paid out in installments or in lump sum that you can live on. So insurances are important.
So how does legal firm come into effect here?
Yeah, so we would refer you to insurance brokers and things, but at the time of making your will, we'll have those conversations in place. We could have those conversations when you're buying a house, because at that time you are already taking out insurance for your house.
Yeah.
So at that time we'll talk about that. If you're going through a legal separation, so marriage breaks down, relationship breaks down, we're going to talk to you about that at that stage. What other insurances are in place? Who's going to pay the mortgage? If there's going to be a default, what is there a mortgage insurance to cover this? If there's a shortfall, so all of these kinds, this is where we don't get the insurance out for you. We are exploring all these options, asking you the questions to then make sure you go and see the right people to get those things in place.
Wow, that's so important.
Absolutely.
So important. So you don't have to be like in your 50s to make your life insurance. You can, because life's uncertain.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. More and more so these days.
Yeah.
It's not about being old and dying, it's, you could drop dead today sort of thing.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
So to wrap up things, I would say that to make a will, you have to be around 18. 18 is a good age?
Minimum.
Minimum?
Yeah. You have to, because legal age in this country is 18.
Yeah.
So you have to be 18 to legally be able to make any legal documents. So any contracts, you can't enter into contracts under 18.
Under 18. And what about the insurance?
Yeah, insurance, same thing. You'll get insurance out. Look, if you can start driving at 17 or whatever the legal age would be when you get your Ps and start driving, then you will need to be insured. Insurance is higher for children, for persons under the age of 25, even for your driving, your registration and your third-party car insurance is the premium's a bit higher when you're under 25 for obvious reasons. You're going to be young and crazy on the road. So,
Wow.
Yeah. So but you can take insurance out. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Pravanita Singh Pillai, for sharing your views and giving us so many ideas. This knowledge will definitely help our viewers.
Thank you. I hope so. Yes.
Thank you, everybody.